Wow, this is some fascinating stuff. It looks like we're going deep on influencers today.
Yeah, we are.
Specifically, how brands can really leverage this whole shift we're seeing with, influencers,
Mm-hmm.
especially plant-based and ethical brands.
Right.
Brennan Gerald has some really compelling ideas here,
Yeah,
especially as we head into 2025.
definitely. A landscape ripe with opportunity, you know?
For sure.
One of Brennan's key insights is that the whole influencer landscape is
Yeah.
getting so much more professional, like rapidly. They're not just, hobbyists messing around anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of them, they have whole teams now, like editors and strategists, even creatives.
Wow.
It's like they're basically mini media empires,
That's crazy.
churning out content at a pace that honestly rivals like traditional outlets.
That's a huge shift. So it's
Yeah.
not just someone posting selfies with a product anymore.
No, not at all.
These are sophisticated operations.
Exactly. And that has major implications for how brands need to approach influencer marketing.
Right.
The old model of just like one-off sponsorships
Yeah.
that just doesn't cut it anymore.
I'm starting to see where this is going.
Yeah.
It sounds like brands really need to step up their game if they want to play in this new world.
Precisely. Brennan actually argues that brands need to start thinking like media companies themselves.
Ooh, interesting.
It's not just about, selling a product anymore. It's
Mhm.
about crafting a narrative that really resonates with their target audience and across multiple platforms.
Okay, so how does all of this impact brands,
Right.
particularly those focused on sustainability, ethics, all of that?
Mm-hmm.
Are they even ready to meet these new consumer expectations?
That's the crucial question.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. The bar for content has been raised, period.
Right.
Consumers are they're bombarded with high-quality, engaging content from influencers constantly.
All the time.
They're not going to settle for, generic ads or boring messaging anymore.
Oh,
They expect, storytelling,
Yeah.
authenticity, visually appealing content, the whole package.
But it sounds like these brands,
Yeah.
like the sustainable, ethical ones,
Yeah.
they actually have an advantage here, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Because authenticity is already baked into what they do.
It's in their DNA.
Right.
What's fascinating is that influencers in the plant-based and ethical space, they're already incredibly passionate about aligning with brands that genuinely reflect their values,
So,
They're not going to promote a product they don't believe in,
for sure.
and their audience knows that.
Totally.
So for brands in these spaces, it's like a golden opportunity
Mm.
to connect with this engaged and passionate audience
Yeah.
through authentic partnerships with influencers who truly align with their mission.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But there's a flip side to that too, right?
Oh, for sure.
If a brand's sustainability claims are just superficial
Oh,
or, disingenuous, those influencers are going to see right through it.
absolutely.
And so will their followers.
100%. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Authenticity is key here.
Hmm.
You can't fake it. Consumers, particularly those interested in ethical consumerism, they are savvy,
They know.
and they can spot greenwashing a mile away.
Yeah.
They want brands that walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Okay, so we've established that the landscape is changing and brands need to adapt.
Big time.
Let's dig into what that adaptation actually looks like.
Okay.
What concrete steps can brands take to actually thrive in this new world where influencers are the new media powerhouses?
Well, let's see. Brennan actually provides a framework for this in his work.
Okay.
He talks about content ecosystem thinking.
Content ecosystem thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Mm-hmm.
Break that down for us. What does that even mean?
Think of it this way, like every piece of content you create
Mm.
from a social media post to your product packaging
Okay.
should tell a chapter of your brand's story.
Interesting.
It's about creating this cohesive experience
Yeah.
for your audience no matter where they encounter you.
So instead of just blasting out random content on different platforms,
Right.
you need to have a cohesive narrative that flows through everything you do.
Exactly.
Got it.
It's about creating this unified experience for your audience.
Mm.
And for plant-based and ethical brands,
Yeah.
this is where their values can really shine.
Right.
Instead of just talking about sustainability,
Uh-huh.
they can weave it into the very fabric of their content,
I like that.
showcasing their eco-friendly practices,
Yeah.
highlighting their ethical sourcing,
Mhm.
telling the stories of the people behind their product.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do you actually do that?
Right.
It sounds kind of overwhelming.
It doesn't have to be.
Okay.
Brennan suggests starting by thinking about your brand as a media company. Like, what kind of stories do you want to tell?
Yeah.
What values do you want to embody?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of content will actually resonate with your target audience?
So you're saying we need to think like a publisher,
Kinda, yeah.
planning out our content calendar,
Mm-hmm.
developing different formats like
Right.
video, written, maybe even audio content,
Yeah.
like a podcast,
Exactly.
all strategically designed to engage our audience and
Mhm.
communicate our brand values.
You got it.
Wow.
And remember, it's not just about creating content.
Right.
It's about distributing it strategically, too.
Okay.
You need to make sure your content is reaching the right people
Mm-hmm.
on the right platforms
Yeah.
at the right time.
And that's where these strategic partnerships with influencers come in.
Exactly.
This is where it all starts to connect.
Yeah.
Because if influencers are operating like media companies,
Right.
and brands need to think like media companies,
Mm-hmm.
then the way they approach partnerships needs to change too.
100%.
It's not just about one-off sponsorships anymore.
No.
It's about something deeper,
Yeah.
more integrated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Brennan's point is that brands need to look for opportunities to co-create with influencers, to build these long-term collaborations that leverage the influencer's like unique brand
Mhm.
and audience.
Right.
Think joint ventures, co-branded products,
Uh-huh.
or even having influencers become ambassadors for the brand.
That's interesting.
It's about building a genuine partnership, not just a transactional relationship.
And I imagine this is even more important
Yeah.
for those plant-based, ethical, and eco-friendly brands we keep talking about,
Absolutely.
because their customers are particularly discerning.
For sure.
Right. They want to know that the brands they support are truly walking the walk,
Yeah.
not just talking the talk.
You're absolutely right.
Mhm.
Authenticity is non-negotiable in those spaces.
Yeah.
And influencers can be incredibly valuable partners in building that trust and credibility. Because, let's face it,
Mhm.
people are more likely to trust a recommendation
Yeah.
from someone they follow and admire than they are a brand's marketing message.
So how do you make sure those influencer partnerships are truly authentic?
Right.
How do you avoid falling into the trap of just doing like a sponsored post that feels forced and inauthentic?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
And Brennan offers some great insights on that, too.
Okay.
He talks about the importance of aligning with influencers who genuinely share your brand values.
Yeah.
Don't just go after the influencer with the biggest following.
Right.
Look for the influencer whose audience aligns with your target market
Mhm.
and whose values resonate with your brand.
So it's about finding those influencers who are already passionate
Yeah,
about the things you're passionate about.
exactly.
The ones who would be talking about your brand anyway,
Right.
even if they weren't getting paid to.
Exactly.
That makes sense.
It's about building relationships based on shared values and mutual respect. I like that. And when you find those influencers, don't be afraid to give them creative freedom.
Interesting.
Let them put their own spin on your brand message. Trust them to connect with their audience
Yeah.
in a way that feels authentic and genuine.
This all makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really empowering message for brands,
Mm.
especially those who are feeling overwhelmed
Right.
by this constantly evolving world of digital marketing.
I agree,
Yeah.
because it really boils down to this.
Okay.
In a world where consumers are bombarded with content from every direction,
Totally.
the brands that will succeed are the ones who tell the best stories.
Those stories aren't just told through ads anymore.
Nope.
They're told through every touch point a consumer has with your brand.
Right.
From the packaging
Yeah.
to the social media posts
Yeah.
to the influencer collaborations.
It's all part of a bigger narrative.
Exactly.
And the smartest brands
Yeah.
will be the ones who figure out how to leverage the power of influencers.
To help them tell those stories in a way that feels authentic, engaging, and truly resonates with their audience.
We've covered so much ground already.
I know, right?
But Brennan has even more wisdom to share
He does.
about how to thrive in this new landscape.
Definitely.
Let's dive into his final thoughts.
Okay.
Okay, so we've talked about the what and the why of this whole influencer thing.
Right.
But, let's get practical for a minute.
Yeah.
How can brands especially those purpose-driven ones we keep discussing,
Mm-hmm.
how can they actually, like, execute on this vision
Right.
without completely burning out their teams?
That's where Brennan's insights about efficiency and design come in.
Oh, interesting.
He emphasizes that building a content ecosystem doesn't mean, like, burning out your team.
Right.
It's about finding that sweet spot where efficiency meets excellence.
So how do you, like, walk that tightrope?
Right.
How do you produce that volume of content and keep the quality up without stretching everyone too thin? Well, Brennan's a big advocate for streamlining processes.
Okay.
Think automation where possible, but always with a human touch
Right.
to preserve that, all-important authenticity.
Of course.
Investing in the right tools and resources is key, too.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly.
Getting the most bang for your buck,
Mm-hmm.
both in terms of, like, time and resources.
Precisely. And this ties directly into design.
Yeah.
Brennan talks about story-driven design,
Right.
where every visual element,
Yeah.
your packaging, your website, your social media graphics,
Mhm.
they all work together
Right.
to reinforce your brand narrative.
So it's not just about aesthetics.
No.
It's about ensuring every design choice is, like, working hard
Right.
to communicate your values and connect with your audience.
Exactly. Think of it as visual storytelling. And for plant-based, ethical, and eco-friendly brands,
Yeah.
this is a chance to showcase their commitment in a truly compelling way.
I see.
Use imagery that highlights your sustainable practices. Yeah.
Showcase the people behind your products.
Mm-hmm.
Let your design reflect the good you're doing in the world.
It's about aligning your visual identity
Right.
with your core values. Right.
Absolutely.
Making sure there's no disconnect between what you say and how you show up in the world.
Because consumers,
Right.
especially those drawn to purpose-driven brands,
Mm-hmm.
they're incredibly discerning.
Yeah.
They'll quickly spot any inconsistency between a brand's message and its visual presentation.
That's so true.
Transparency and authenticity are crucial.
This has been such an insightful deep dive.
It has.
It's clear that we're moving into a world where the most successful brands,
Yeah.
they won't be the ones that just shout the loudest.
Bro,
They'll be the
yeah.
ones who tell the most compelling stories.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's about creating a brand experience that resonates on an emotional level, that aligns with people's values,
Yeah.
and that makes them feel like they're part of something bigger than themselves.
And that's something that influencers, particularly those in the plant-based and ethical space, they can be incredibly powerful partners in achieving.
So to recap, influencers are becoming media companies.
Yeah,
The bar for content has been raised,
for sure.
and brands need to start thinking like media producers themselves,
Right.
crafting those compelling narratives that resonate across all touch points.
That's the key takeaway.
It is.
What fascinates me is that success in this new landscape, it's no longer just about what you sell.
Yeah.
It's about the value you deliver, the stories you tell, the connections you forge, and the impact you make on the world.
It's a powerful shift.
It is.
And one that, as Brennan points out, is full of opportunity for brands who are willing to embrace it.
Indeed. As we look towards 2025 and beyond, the brands that prioritize authentic connections and deliver genuine value, those are the brands that will not only survive, but thrive.
Well said. And on that note, we wrap up this deep dive into the world of influencers and their growing impacts.
That's been a good one.
It has.
Lots to think about.
Hopefully this exploration has given you, the listener, some food for thought and some actionable insights to take your brand to the next level.
Remember, the future belongs to the storytellers.
That's right.
So go out there and tell yours.
Love it. And be sure to join us next time as we take another deep dive into a topic that's shaping the world around us.
Looking forward to it.
Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.